and the big red button is pushed. And the reality is that it's not red, it's blue on YouTube. I wonder if I can change the color of that. Man, hi everybody. Happy Thursday, happy ADRAMADA, wherever we're into. What a strange day, what a strange show today. The show itself won't be strange, it's kind of strange for me. I had an event yesterday where the night before I stayed up till about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I had to get up at about 5:30, and that was the sum total of my sleep yesterday until I got a nice couch nap around 8 p.m. And what is that? Oh, I see what that is. Okay. I got kind of working through mid-morning, and I started panicking. My show isn't ready. I haven't written. I don't have all the labs test and everything. And I took a lunch break. I don't take a lunch break. I eat and work. And I'm working on it. And then I was working with Andre de Goyer doing some testing yesterday on the audio system. By the way, let me know if you can hear me, because I did mess around a lot with the audio system. I don't hear anybody griping, so it's a good sign. Hi, Scott, and everybody. I'll get there in a second. But as I was talking with Andre, I came to realize, because he pointed it out to me, that your show isn't tonight. Oh, man, that helped. Okay, I'm heard. Very good. So it was a big letdown, and so I got my couch nap last night, and then I got back in here and I worked on show and labs and things like that, and everything was fine, and today was a regular work day, and I'm feeling okay now. But all the buildup that you go through for every major event in your life, I watch this all the time for test takers, right? You're going to get ready for that test, and it starts out, I'm going to study for 3 months, and for 2.5 months, for 2 months, it's moving along and making progress, and then you're a month out, and just a little bit of anxiety. Am I going to be ready in a month? And by the time some folks are worked up to, man, my test is tomorrow, and tomorrow comes around and they're on a gurney, sweating bullets and having a heart attack. That's kind of where I was yesterday. I was so far behind, and now it's behind me, and thank goodness. Anyways, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. This is ADRAMADA, another Dave Rush Ask Me Anything Digital Alchemy. And we get together every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time. We're on Central Daylight Saving Time right now, which is midnight Universal Coordinated Time. I'm going to try to include that into all of my time announcements for future. We get together every week to talk tech. I love technology. I play with it. I research it. I try it. I use it. And I want to take the things that I find and that I learn and share them with anybody who's willing. Oh man, what great news, Scott. I'm just barely seeing the way my screen is set up. I'm seeing the very last line of the chat. Alex is a Linux pluser. And if anybody deserves to be a Linux pluser, wow, that's wonderful news. I hope she'll pop into Discord and say hi. Let her know we get together here. I know it's late her time, but she should make at least one appearance here just to make my life complete, and then I can cancel the show. All right, so I want to share with anybody who's interested in playing with technology. Topics range wide, from computer IT to security to energy and automation and AI and music and movies and electric guitars and electric cars and all points in between and beyond. And even though the show says digital alchemy, we do analog technology. It's pretty good stuff too. It's my show. I'm not beholden to anybody. Then nobody yells at me if I break the boundaries. So I'm not shy when it comes to talking about religious sex, politics, or COVID. We're done talking that, right? I should probably take that off the list. COVID as a discussion is a dead thing in the world, and that's just fine with me. Well, let's see who's here. Not many today. It's a late show. I can feel that one. That's all right. I can teach with the same. I can do a show with the same enthusiasm through an empty room. Boy, Maybe I should have more tea, and I got a fair amount of sleep last night. Not enough. So Tullowit, as ever and always, here first, about a half an hour before showtime. Donald Dinga, long time no see, sir. Welcome. Patricia Grace, hello, governor. Oh, that's right. I see where you're going with that. I need a pork pie hat. I actually looked last year for pork pie hats. I couldn't find any that just made me happy. Pork pie, they also call them newsboy caps, and there was another name for them, but those are the two biggies. I love a good pork pie hat. And yeah, I can see where this sort of looks like that. I have governor as my name in Google speaker device. So it says, good morning, governor. Sometimes, okay. Makes me giggle. And Scott's here. Missed you last week, Scott. Good to see you again, old friend. Hey, thank you for that document. That did a world of good for getting me moving on my project. That's a real lifesaver. Thank you. Yeah, it's upside down, but I wanted it to match the layout of the logo that I did in all of my corporate documents and things like that. It's not upside down. It just depends on where you are when you take the photo. We're just taking it from a place that no one has ever been, at least no human. So this is the traditional orientation that you would see it if you look through a good telescope. But I wanted that one to match the ADRAMADA logo, which is upside down. And I couldn't bring myself to put a black piece of tape right over the middle of it to make it ADRAMADA instead of Andromeda. So. Oh. Clear. Camera is great. What a nice change, huh? Yeah, we got everything. I poked around a little bit on these late nights this week. We're doing fine. Sync is definitely off. That's the one. I mean, I cannot test that. So we live with off sync. I'll figure it out one of these days. Will Shaw, popping in, popping out. Nice to see you, my friend. Will Shaw. A couple things in the news that are tied to Will Shaw, and I don't have him on my list today. Michael Smyer and I were talking about this today. Some time ago, late last year, Linus Torvald, the developer of the Linux kernel, the inventor of the Linux kernel, had announced that he's going to pull support for older CPUs up to a certain point. It's happened in the past, and he's doing it again. So sometimes there are these machines that are really ancient and sitting in your drawer, and you have, oh, you know what? I could run Linux on that. And that's usually true, but it's a moving bar where, no, you can't anymore, not unless you use an older kernel. And Intel wants to pull legacy support for 16 and 32-bit operations on some of their next generation, their new and upcoming generation chips. So it won't boot up in a 16-bit or a 32-bit mode and then have to get bootstrapped into a 64-bit mode. It's going to boot straight into 64-bit. A lot of work to be done on that for the sake of compatibility. I hadn't thought about this until this very second. That's probably going to impact a lot of grub loaders, Linux bootstrap system. So that'll be interesting to see where that all goes. All right. Well, let's get the news of the week. There's been some neat things happen this week, some product news, some industry news. Today, by the way, if you're not watching this show live, is Thursday, May 25th. It's 7 p.m. Central Time. And want to mention Dragan, D-R-A-G-G-A-N. It's a portmanteau. It's a combination of drag and generative adversarial network. What? What did I want to say about it? It's a new AI-powered image editor. We're going to see it come out across multiple platforms. Call it a Photoshop competitor. Right now, I'm a GIMP user, and it has no AI in it. The whole point of AI, we're seeing this appear in a number of areas. I saw a new product for Android AI photo editors. And you see there's an Apple commercial that's kind of sort of AI-ish in its ability to scrub out of things and put a fair background in. Now I do that all the time with GIMP. There's something that I want to pull out. Maybe it's a shadow, maybe it's a chunk of dandruff on a shirt, whatever the case may be. And so you mark it and you select heal from the menu, and it looks around the area that you've marked out for however many pixels you specify, 20 pixels around or 50 or whatever, and it kind of mathematically merges what's around what you've marked and algorithmically replaces the thing that you've marked with that. The results aren't always particularly satisfying. It depends. Well, the whole point of AI editing is it's supposed to understand the pictorial context. Oh, this is water. We're pulling a particular fish out of here. I don't want to just put blue water or whatever color the water is where the fish was. I want to put water where it is, and I want to make it look environmentally like the rest of the water that's surrounding it. So Dragon it's out in beta. It hasn't achieved commercial release yet or consumer release yet. But if and when it happens, it's impressive. I'm looking forward to it because that's my typical kind of editing. And I would really look forward to seeing some of my efforts come out a little prettier. You know, there's the line, right? When does it become your art and when is it the art of the AI? So there's a line that I don't know about. Other news, Rocky Linux released 2 new releases. 8.8 because they simultaneously have 8 released and 9 released. So they updated 8 to 8.8. They updated Rocky 9 to 9.2. The same is true for Alma Linux, including Pi version. Same. Rocky includes the Pi. Red Hat doesn't have a Pi version. They too have updated from their 9 to 9.2 and from their 8 to 8.8. How about this handy dandy little product? It's a company been around for a long time that makes a browser. They have a product called Next, N-Y-X-T. I'm going to throw their link in the chat feed. Next makes a keyboard browser. It's graphical, it looks like any other browser, but it doesn't work with a mouse. It works with your keyboard in the same way that you might use a word processor like VI or Vim or something like that. Emacs, if you want to, really hang yourself and show how old you are and what a true crusty old Linux guru you are. But that's how you navigate with this thing. So there's commands, Control L puts you in command mode, and then maybe J jumps you down a page, or I don't know the keyboard strokes on it. But there are people who just either don't want to use a mouse, can't use a mouse, for whatever their rationale is. The Next browser, it's version 3.0. It has been released after 2 years of development. People who are into this thing have been waiting for Next 3.0, and it's out there. It's a flat pack. It's not in the Flat Hub yet, but you can get it from their site that I posted to the web. It would be an interesting experiment to look into. So I don't cross boundaries much with what I do in the company, and certainly with what my company does, but there's such a big newsworthy item that it's the elephant in the room, and we cannot continue talking without mentioning this. And that is CompTIA posted new A+ modular certs. So, and we're not real clear on just exactly what it means. What it looks like it means is there's 6 or 7 new certs that's A+ with a concentration, like A+ underscore, they all have an underscore, coding, right? So you're A+ certified and you've got some additional training on coding or additional training on networking or all of that stuff. It's a news release. It was about 5 paragraphs. There's not a lot of info. It's just generating press like nobody's business, but nobody really knows what to talk about. I've asked some of my internal people who have better CompTIA contacts than I. They're being very close-lipped about it. So the only thing that we know is the 7 names of the modules, that they're going to be released on Coursera, and that it's going to happen in October is the announcement anyways. I wanted to share with you a little bit of a post that I saw on Reddit this week in the CompTIA subreddit. Just very little bit here, but I think this is fascinating. If you go, his post was really long, TLDR, and you'll be able to look it up. Just pick a couple of keywords out of this sentence. His goal is, once he finally burrowed down through all of the mining ore of this superfluous information, wants to know thoughts on studying for Linux Plus. But what I wanted to share with you is his reasoning. He says, "Hey folks, I've been watching this subreddit recently. It seems like a great place to be. I've got some questions to see if my studying methodology is sound." Lots of people ask that same question. I don't understand that question. But okay, the fun thing is there's 170,000 subredditors in CompTIA, and he'll get about 169,000 responses on my study method is this and my study method is that, and never study like this. All right, anyways, continue to his second and last paragraph that I'm going to share with you. Some background. I was recently promoted to Technical Operations Manager, formerly a lead systems engineer for a gaming company. My department is the owner of 50 racks of servers, majority of them being Windows-based, but the games we have coming up will be running on Linux, and our infrastructure team is already overworked and overloaded. So we're trying to up our values as a department to the company by learning how to run things in Linux. Here it comes. Just in case our Windows-based games start to die off. Now, he didn't flesh that out. She didn't flesh that out, and I didn't contact them directly. But if that's truly their rationale, we've got to get better at Linux so that our developers can continue to develop and improve Linux games just in case our Windows-based games start to die off. Put whatever spin on it makes you happy. There's a million of them. That could be meaningless. It could be so meaningful. Is somebody looking out on the grand landscape of the world and saying, Microsoft is going to do something with Windows, and they've certainly been newsworthy. We've been watching them march toward Linux for a few years. The most visible thing has been WSL, but they were playing with their own internal version of Linux years before that. They are talking about doing Windows on their own silicon now. Will that impact gaming for games and drivers and things like that work directly with the hardware? I don't know, but it's really interesting. Industry news. This one's a stunner for me. I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, that the tech layoffs are starting to reach, or layoffs, the national and worldwide shrinking of the economy is beginning to get its tendrils into the tech industry. And I mentioned to you a week or two ago that Red Hat, right? Owned by IBM. It's a big, popular number 1 or number 2 Linux distro. In the government, it's number 1. In the military, it's number 1. In commercial installations and corporate installations, it's number 2 after Ubuntu. Anyways, they announced a 4% reduction in force from their 19,000 employees. Okay, bad news. Well, this week, their program manager, gent named Ben Cotton, who is an industry luminary and is the managing director, what's his official title? Fedora program manager he got caught up in this. They are getting rid of the Fedora program manager, the head honcho of everything that happens in Fedora. That's a stunner. That's a real massive, major, amazing stunner. Again, I'm not clear what to make of it. He says he's shocked and stunned and is going to sit back on his haunches for a month or two and figure out what he's going to do. But he loves Fedora and he loves Red Hat, and he will be fully involved and continues involvement with some other former program managers from Fedora. So I read that, I was knocked out. Mix, MIXXX. We did that back when I had my old drama show. Mix is DJ software that runs on Raspberry Pi. It runs on Ubuntu. It's a Linux distro. It competes with the two big commercial DJ software, Serato DJ, I think it's the official name, and Rekordbox with a K. Anyway, Mix, I use Mix on my Pis. I use Mix on other Linux boxes. I play with it, I dabble with it, and I use it as a backup. So if I go to a gig, I've got Mix on a Pi ready to go. So if my primary system fails, I unplug my controller from whatever failed, plug it into the Pi, boot the Pi up, and I'm back and running. It's got the same music libraries and everything, so ready to go. And then while that's going on, I can either try and troubleshoot or whatever. Well, it's been a while since there has been a notable upgrade to Mix. One came across this week. No, the version, like you care, is 2.3.5 now, and I'm running like 2.2 point something on the Pi. They're very, very behind the times, and I'm not going to get into what the upgrade things were. You're welcome to read about that. But for me, one of the upgrades, I'll give you one: improved handling of my second tier controller. That's called a DDJ 400. I've got a bigger, better, stronger one. But that's my backup guy of all. That's my most popular rental guy out there for the price, and it's neat stuff. Oh, okay, I'll go ahead and put a line into this thing. Where are we at on time here? Okay, cool. Good shape on time. Zotac. You may know Zotac as kind of a competitor. If you don't know them, they are kind of a competitor to Asus. They make motherboards. They make GTX video cards. They make license. All kinds of goodies. They have some of their own stuff. They make a very popular line of small form factor motherboards. Well, they got a new one out. This was announced this past week at a trade show. It's pocket sized. I was going to pull something out here that's about the size. There's something. This is pretty much exactly the size of this new Zotac. It's called the ZBox PI430AJ. It's an okay spec machine, but that's not what makes it cool. That's not what makes it. The form factor is cool. There's other folks that have made similar small factor computers, but they're popular. They've got a good deal about that. Sorry. Let's not try and put that away right now. It's going to be dominoes. Here's what's cool about it. It's fanless because it uses a cooling system that was introduced a little while back from Frore, F-R-O-R-E, Frore Systems. They've created a heatsink system that's an active mini heatsink called the AirJet. And these guys are one of the first people to implement it in a commercial consumer release product. There's two versions of the computer, a high power version, 15 watts. Again, you're not going to get, it's not a gaming rig, so it's not going to run 800 watts. It doesn't have a super awesome video card in it, but this cooling solution is so amazing and so cool. Anyways, they got a 15 watt version. They got a 7 watt version. Their big one is expensive. Retail price $499 US, and a little cheaper, obviously, for the smaller one. But wow, It's just wow, and it's obviously silent. It's pretty much makes about as much noise as, oh, I don't know, this thing. I think this is louder because it clicks. That thing doesn't. Let's see. First model right now is an i3, 16 gigs, terabyte, HDMI 2, and DisplayPort. That's cool. Gigabit, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2. Oh, there we go. It's got a 2 USB 3.2. That's the 20 gig version, and a USB Type-C port. So, interesting stuff. Take a look into air-jet cooling systems from Frore, F-R-O-R-E. It's interesting. It's exciting. Microsoft in the news. After almost 30 years, let's be specific, 28 years, Microsoft has added built-in support to their operating system, to Windows, the capability to deal with RAR files, GZ files, and tar files. These are zips. These are compressed files that you usually find in the Unix world, to a lesser extent in the Mac world, and we run into them in the Windows world. Sometimes I'm going to download something that I need, and oh my gosh, it's a RAR file, or it's a GZ, or whatever. gzip is what that's for. And so you brought it in, and you would right click on it and try to extract it, and Microsoft says, I don't know what to do with this thing. And so you had to go out and acquire and install a program like either WinRAR or 7-Zip. I've been running 7-Zip for decades. I don't know where they've been, late to the party, but here they come. Okay, that's interesting on its face. I don't have to use 7-Zip anymore. I don't have to use WinRAR anymore. Nice. And we could walk away after that. But I put a little thought into that. By the way, it's not here yet. They did this as an announcement to their developers who are in the beta program, who get the first pre-releases of all their latest operating system. They said, here's the information you're going to need for APIs and things like that. So I don't know which release, 1 or 2 releases I would expect for Win 11. There's benefits to this. There are disadvantages to this. Just from my off the top of the head thinking, I'm sure other people have a lot more intelligent and analysis than I have, but benefit, because there's been a large demand for over 25 years for varietal decompressions, for all the different kinds of compressed files out there. A lot of malware has been built into programs that reportedly are decompressors. Hey, I got to decompress a RAR file. How do I decompress a RAR file? We type into our favorite search engine, and here comes Super RAR. It's got 4-star ratings, and it's stored on downloadnet.com. Okay, cool, I'll download that. Well, because so many people need this so many times, there's been a lot of malware out there that, the file really does perhaps extract RAR files, but it also does something horrible to your computer, makes it a bot or puts ransomware in it or whatever. So benefit of this, people will no longer have to go out and pursue third-party expanders, decompressors. It's a two-sided coin. The disadvantage is there's some very good software out there where people have made a living all of their lives for 2 decades plus doing that, like WinRAR and 7-Zip. There won't be a need for that anymore. So a likely huge cut in revenue for them. They're free products to download for consumers. You pay for it because you get the advertising that comes with it. And of course, they also get money as a support agency for when they provide it into a licensed or corporate environment so that they can provide support. So no good deed goes unpunished, right? All right, let's see what's going on in the say here. Then I'm going to do my personal stuff, and then we'll dive into El Proyecto, which is going to be fun today. I hope they're all fun. My 386 can run or not. 3 weeks ago, if you asked me what the cutoff was for the latest kernel, I'd be able to tell you, but I haven't played and I let it go. Scott Jernigan posted IKEA Club org. What is that you posted for? I'll click it. I'll see what pops up here. So if I go to the IKEA Club and I look at this, a club of amateurs. Oh, the dragon trolley. Okay, yeah, different dragon. Thanks, Scott. Now I don't know if that worked. I hope it did. Somebody let me know if that worked. Never was one of those evil word processors again, right? Emacs and Vim, or certainly Vi. They're not dead. I was working with some folks for 9 months last year. Side project, had nothing to do with work, and we were talking. These are entrenched Linux folks who work for Linux companies. And somebody asked me at some point, what are you using? And I said, well, mostly I'm a nano guy. I'm fairly minimally functional in Vim. And they just laughed. You know what? You're a pup. You're wet behind the ears. There is only Vim in their minds. Okay. Windows wins every time, huh? I'll never use one of those. No way, Windows is Patricia Grace. I heard that on the Lunduk Tech Show. Right? You've mentioned Lunduk before. I knew there are tech layoffs, but yeah, that's a knockout, isn't it? Scott bails out. Scott's put. You are such an awesome mod, Scott. Thank you. I should do all this stuff, but sometimes I just think it's interesting. Murky's here. Hey, Murky, good to see you. We met Murky as he followed up a post that I did on Reddit to advertise the study halls over on Discord, and then he joined Discord. And I don't think you've been on Mike's AMA yet because he hasn't done the AMA in the last 2 weeks. He's not doing it this Monday because it's Memorial Day here in the U.S., a national holiday. But welcome, Murky. Good to see you, my friend. Okay, let's finish up the other news. Yeah, okay. This is just what's going on in Dave's life. 3 quickies and we're moving on. I was working late the other night. I work late every night this week. It's been an amazing week. There's so much to do. I work all day for my company, and then I work all night on everything that I do, a lot of this and a lot of other things. And I was looking at topics that I was going to include in future shows, and there's a program that you can run in Linux. It's built into Ubuntu. You don't have to download it or run it. And it will look at your BIOS and give you all the information about your firmware, revisions, dates, things like that. I was thinking about making today a 2-part show, and then I looked at that. I'm sorry, I just had to itch my ear there. I think there's a snake crawled in there. And so I decided against that because it turns out this program is so big and so powerful and so cool, it's going to get its own dedicated show. But I thought, well, I better run this on my machine and check it out. And I got a pair of Linux daily drivers here. One's an i5, one's an i7. So I ran it. My i7 is my daily driver, of course. And it had a BIOS date of 2020. And then I ran it on my other one, the i5, and it was 2021. That seems to be just a little out of date. And there are some issues that I'm having with these machines about running OBS software and things like that. So let's go ahead and see if there's more current firmware. And sure enough, there was firmware from last month. They use 3 different methods. And the only one that was practical for me here in the middle of the night was the old method, where you download it to a flash drive, you plug the flash drive in, you boot it up, go to the BIOS screens, the BIOS screen detects the flash drive, you go into the flash memory or flash program and browse for it, tell it to update, and then, here's the old method. You hit the click button and back away slowly, stop breathing, leave the room, because if anything interrupts that method, it's bricked. So I was horrified and terrified Okay, I didn't actually leave the room, but I did sit back and I literally took my hands off my desk and put them on my keyboard or on my chair and didn't touch a thing. Just watched it do its thing. It took about 5 minutes and there was a reboot in there, and booted up like a dream. Firmware went in fine. Did it again with a little more confidence, but still fear and still hands off on the i5. And now they both have new firmware. So that's what their BIOS update screen looks like. I didn't take this picture. It's not mine. You can see that this has a 2019 version of firmware in there. It's a picture that I got off the web. But it's a little bit of a convoluted menu. I wasn't sure what to click, and I finally got it. Okay, so UEFI BIOSes have been updated. They were already UEFI, but I'm just terrified of the old method. It's so scary. Another side project. The kid is home from college. Hasn't started work yet. It's a few more weeks before that. So he doesn't want to, do family work and do anything for the old man yet. Well, he still lives here. I don't do that. Under my roof, my rules. But would you give me a hand with? We've lived in this house for about 23 years. Getting about time to move on and do something a little different. And one of the impeti for that is I got a set of clogged gutters, and they have been getting worse. They start overflowing, and they were overflowing onto an outlet in the front of the house. And when that outlet got wet, electrical outlet, it would kill the power in the upstairs bathroom and my garage. And I've got a fridge in the garage, and so the garage fridge would become unpowered. It's all right. It's cold. It's closed. And I had to get a monitor device for the power in there so I know when it happened, so I can get an idea of when I should go try and reset the breaker. Well, now the problem has gotten worse. The outlet doesn't get flooded anymore, and in fact, I replaced it with a nice covered sealed unit, but the water backs up so quick on a good rainstorm that it gushers out to places in the yard that completely destroy my garden every time it rains. All the mulch washes away and everything. So got the kid. We brought out the 35-foot ladder. He's no fan of heights. I'm not the best guy to climb up ladders. So we did a 2-hour project that I expected would take 20 minutes, but clean gutters. Yay. I don't have any pictures. And the last thing I want to share with you is a picture here. What do we got? What was figure 01? I did figure 00. Oh, was there 2? Yeah, okay. So there was the press the final button. All right, last personal activities. This thing. I'm not a gamer. I'm a game player, but I'm not dyed in the wool. I'm not Scott. He's closer to a gamer than anybody I personally know, mostly. But I have a gaming keyboard. It's a low-end gaming keyboard. It's got mechanical switches, and it's all backlit in blue LEDs. I'm not sure if you can even turn it off, but this handy-dandy little key. I was working late one night. I don't have any lights on when I'm working. I usually got a word processor up or some Linux utility I'm playing with. And I looked down at the keyboard, and all the keys were lit up except this one. And it was dark, and I didn't want to touch it. I didn't know what it did. So I waited until the next day, 2 days ago. Nice and sunny here in the office. And I'm looking at it, and I can't figure it out. I'm trying to do searches on it that says, what is the key on the keyboard between print screen and pause break? Or then, of course, I looked up the make and model of this keyboard, and I yelled for the son. He games more than I do, and he's the tech geek. I actually kind of rely on him many times for good information. He's my 3D printer guru. And so brought him in, pointed at that. It pleases me to no end when there's something that he doesn't know and can't say, geez, tech guy, why don't you know that? So he's searching on his phone and I'm searching on my computer, and he says, got it. Okay, what is it? This is cool. Some of you are gamers. Some of you already know this, I'm sure. But let me just whip and zip through. This key, it toggles. So if you press it down, it's kind of like a caps lock key. It lights up. And then if you press it again, it unlights. And what it does is when it's engaged, when it's lit up, it disables the Windows Start button on your keyboard. This matters in the context of a gamer because your hands are down there moving with the ASDW keys. And if you hit that while you're gaming, your game will collapse and you'll find yourself up at, Windows Start thing or something like that. You get thrown out of the game. It doesn't quit you out of the game, but you're out of the game and you're going to miss something, especially if, working with a team or something like that. So that disables your Windows Start button when it's engaged. I talk about a first world solution. A single key whose single job it is to disable another single key. You gotta love that. Hey, all right, let's check post, and then we'll dive into project for a little while, and then we'll close it up. Fun project today. Love digging on Steganography. Yes, it only had 6. I'm reading ahead here. No, the Windows. Okay, we finished off with welcoming murky truth on the back away exit. Yeah, not on my machine. This my daily driver's got 64 gigs. My backup has 32. My laptop only has 12 gigs, so we're all right, Patricia Grace. 16 on one machine. 16 is the sweet spot for a lot of folks. Sad zero, not sado. You guys. Let me try something here. Why can't I hear this? Let me crank full volume. There it goes. Okay, I can't hear that. Reading here, Dave needs to get his mind out of the gutter. Jeez. I gotta read silently anything Tulwit posts before I read it out loud. Should buy Wonder Twins activate key. That key doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand the symbology, but there it is. Wonder Twins activate. You got to be a certain age. Way to go, Patricia. I hit the Windows key a lot playing WoW. Need that key. It's from Thermal Talk or Thermal Take, and it's cheap. It's like $40-50 for it, and it's a Poseidon ZX. I love it as a writing keyboard because I mostly have my office to myself now. So the clicking doesn't bother anybody. If I'm sharing the office with the missus, I don't write much in there. I live on my good old Microsoft soft angled keyboard, which I also like. Joshua Hancock's here. Joshua, you are my prince. If I post something on LinkedIn, you are the first to comment, the first to like. You and Patricia are the first to share. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Joshua, 32 gigs on my laptop is a bit low with how many tabs I have open. Right, I always close 90 tabs just before I start the show here to free up some memory on this machine. Again, it's only got 12 gigs. Scott, remember when the concept of saying only 12 gigs is unfathomable? Heck, you're talking about hard drives back in those days. 12 gigs would be unbelievable. So here we are. I've only got 12 gigs of RAM. Let's see how many tabs I have open, and if I'm running something like OWASP Zap. Yes. And yeah, Joshua hasn't been here from when Scott's been back. Scott's been back for 6 or 7 weeks now. He visits the show. Appreciate that. Okay, well, let's dive into Steganography. I'm not going to get into much what it is because it's really simple. The whole concept of Steganography simply says I have some data that I need to transfer to somebody else surreptitiously. I could take that file and I could encrypt it and email it as an attachment, but it's very clear that if that's intercepted, that's an encrypted file. All I got to do is work on decrypting it. But if I have a way of integrating it into some other kind of file in such a way that it's not apparent, now I have done steganography. And again, I don't compete or cross over lines with my company, but there's nothing wrong, I think, with mentioning that if you're studying for Security Plus, steganography is in there, and it only says 3 things. One, it says steganography. It's under an objective that says summarize the basics of cryptographic concepts. So steganography is a cryptographic concept that says hide one kind of data in another kind of data file. And then there's 3 sub-bullets under steganography: audio, video, and image. And that can mean one of 2 things. I want to hide an audio file in some other file, or I want to hide some other kind of file in an audio file. So bingo. Okay, that's steganography. And the really cool thing is, unless you know what you're looking for, I don't think about this. If I get an image, I don't think, hey, somebody's playing steganography. Maybe there's a hidden message in there. And some files are easy to determine with utilities that they are steganographic. I made that up. And some not. You'd have to know it's there. And that's one of the really neat things. If I squeeze a document into an image file, that doesn't impact the image or an image player. I double click on it with my image shower, and there it is. And it neither knows nor cares that there's an embedded document hidden in there somewhere. So that's the nature of steganography. Been around for a long time. Ancient Greeks, patient ancient Greeks, would take their messengers and tattoo messages to their scalp. Maybe they left their hair on and tattooed around the hair. Maybe they shaved them and wait for some hair to grow back, and then they can just walk lines, walk across country, and nobody suspects a thing. That's hiding data in plain sight. So what we're going to do in here is I'm going to mention to you a couple of the very popular embedder and extractor steganographic utilities and tools. I took the 5 best from somebody's article, and but I use some of these, and they're a lot of fun. And we're going to demo one of them. They're available in command line. They're available in GUI format. They're available cross-platform. They're flexible. They're powerful. They're fun. Some have features that others don't. Some can compress. Some can encrypt. Some can't do those things. So let me mention to you 5 common utilities that we can embed or extract, and just a couple basic facts about them. The one we're going to use today, steghide, one word, steghide. It's a Linux command line utility used to embed or extract text inside an image. That's what it does. I can't put a Word document in there. I can't put a music file in there. I can't put binaries in there. And the only thing it works with is images. It also has built-in, by default, encryption and compression of the embedded text. You can turn that off if you like. StegoShare, a Windows and Linux GUI-based utility, can embed binaries and or text within images. And then this part's really cool. Let's say you've got this really gigundous binary. It's so big, it's bigger than the image that you're trying to stuff it into. StegoShare says, not to worry, give me multiple images and I'll spread it across them. Very cool stuff. It's GUI based, it's intuitive, it's easy to use. You bring up the GUI menu, you pick the file that you want to embed, you pick the files that you want to embed them into. And by the way, they don't do that then. They do not make a change to the image files that you're embedding. They create new image files, same name, except they have embedded, so you still always have the originals to work with. How about WaveSteg, W-A-V-S-T-E-G? It's a Linux command line utility, embeds text within audio files. You can still play the audio file. It won't hop or skip or mess around with the playback. Still kind of cool stuff. Another Linux command line utility, Snow. Embed or extract. Extract has a C in it, you know that? Text files, ready for this? Within another text file. Once it's embedded and its magic is done, you can't see it. Open up your with your favorite text editor, you won't see the embedded text in there. You'll just see the regular original contents of the text file. But if you know, hey, that's a steg file that somebody created, then you use your steg extractor and off you go. Kind of slick. And the last one, this is so far beyond magic. Let me just knock you out with this. It's called Steganoroute, all one word. It's a Linux command line utility. Now, everything that we've talked about and everything that you'll probably ever learn, as certainly at a low level like a high level like Security Plus, it's embedding stuff in another file. Steganoroute does not embed content into a file. It embeds it into ICMP packets. Packets, right? So ICMP packets are usually broadcast packets, not always, but mostly. So what you do is you use the Steganoroute creator, and it will embed information in broadcast ICMP packets and broadcast them out. And most stations are going to ignore that, except the one that's running the Steganoroute receiver program, who's watching for all ICMP packets and looking internally for embedded steganographic content. Wow, that's a knockout. All right, where are we at on time here? Yeah, 9 minutes. I'm going to just walk you through a demo of one of these StegHide, because it's kind of darn cool, and that will take us right up to about the end. So let me do this. So this is my Ubuntu box. What a shock. And the first thing I've got to do is install it. I uninstalled it here previously because it's so small, and it installs in about 6 seconds. So I'm going to do sudo apt install StegHide. Bam. Put my password in. And usually it would say, hey, it's going to take up so much space. Do you want to do this, yes or no? Since I've already done it once before, it says, okay, you must know what you're doing. You're cool. Off you go. All right, so here I am. I've got some pictures and I've got some text files that I've already created. All right, so here is a JPEG file. This is a JPEG file also that's got Stego content in it. I'll explain why it's there in a moment. And then here's a text file. Let's take a look at the contents of that text file. It's just a little one-liner in there. This is a file with a secret message which will be hidden in an image file. Okay, we could do that. I don't want you. I want you. There we go. That's a nice way to do that. Okay, so StegHide, I might run about 3 or 4 minutes over. Stick with me because this is so cool. Is an extractor or an embedder. And so you can see the general syntax is StegHide followed by the word embed or the word extract, and then here are some switches to control what and how you're embedding, and down here are switches to control what you're extracting. So we'll do an embed here. You've seen the files that are in here. I'm going to copy paste so I don't typo it. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just put the command here without hitting the enter key on here. So we're going to do a StegHide embed, and then EF specifies what's the file that you're going to embed in another file. So I want the contents of textfile.txt. And then what is the file that you're going to embed it into? What's the image file? So I got ADRAMADA DR profile 01 JPEG. And then finally, SF, what is the output file? Yeah, what did I type C? Oh, there we go. Okay. And the help file doesn't tell us what the F is for, but what's the created JPEG file that's going to hold the embedded content? And so I just called it StegTest. And I hit the enter key on it, and you're not going to see anything happen. So I'm just going to do this. And it would create StegTest. Now let's prove that. So here's my two JPEG files in there. This was the one that I originated with. And now we scroll over. I know you can't see that. Look at that. They're identical. You can't tell that I changed files. Up on top, you can see the title, ADRAMADA DR profile. And now we're looking at StegTest. So there's a file that's embedded in there. My image display utility doesn't see it, doesn't care. So they still work fine. I could send this as an email to somebody and they would never know there's a hide file. But when they share it with our mutual friend, hey, Dave always sneaks in stuff like that, I'll use StegHide to extract it. So, okay. So let's do that. We did the, yeah, this is going to go quick. I just turned about 4 pages of data without missing a thing into a show. Okay, close that up. So now let's pull the contents of this StegTest JPEG file or whatever's in there. So again, if I run StegHide, stop it. Gotta go to my notes. I just jumped in my notes, wrong page. Okay, there's where we're going to go. All right, I'm going to copy the command. And this time we're going to do it. Now, what I want to do in here is just to prove there is only one text file in here, textfile.txt, and we've seen it. Kate. There it is. So I want to pull this data out of here, and when I do it, I don't have to name it this same file name. In fact, the file name isn't in here, so it doesn't know. It just knows that there's steg content in there. So here we go. Let us take a peek at the command here. So we're going to do StegHide again. This time we're going to extract from, that's the -SF, the stegtest.jpg file, and then the xf command, extract to file, and then we have to give the name of the file that we're going to extract to. So I'm going to call it data out. So here we go. We hit the enter key on there, and we wind up hitting the enter key on my. Now, when I went to when I hit the enter key on the original creation, it prompted me for a password. And that password is used to encrypt the data that it put in there, and that data is also automatically compressed. So I need the right password here. I can't just send this to somebody without also somehow, some way communicating the password that I use to encrypt. So I put my decryption password in here. Same one that I used. And okay, I wrote whatever. Now I put anything in there and it would use it. So I could put in test or passphrase or pass. Those weren't the words that I used. And it would generate garbage. But if I use the right passphrase, now I've got 2 text files. The original textfile.txt, which doesn't have to be in here. It wouldn't be in the receiver's computer. And here's the file that just got created. Let's take a look at it. Hey, look at this, by the way. Same number of bytes, 75 bytes, 75 bytes. And look at that, the exact same message. as that. And it doesn't have to be a short little message like this. So again, there's graphical versions of this stuff. There is, I don't want that, I want this. There's cross-platform versions of it. There's compressors, there's encryptors. But I have never seen anybody do a presentation on steganography where they actually show you hands-on how it works. And so I thought that was kind of important to do today. And then I'm going to do something here. Oh, I can do this. Okay, now we're back in biz. So I wanted you to see it. And again, the graphical ones are that much easier. If I embed with this Stego utility, can I extract with that one? And the answer to that is sometimes. Some of them use a different algorithm. So usually, or it's safest, it's best, it's easiest to use the same utility. Hey, that's it, guys. That's today's presentation. See if there's any final messages here, different sizes. Yeah, the JPEGs were definitely different sizes. They weren't much different, and especially if you use a Steg utility that does compression. But absolutely, there is a size difference. But as long as the receiver or an examiner doesn't have the original files to compare, everything is fine. And of course, they wouldn't. If I send out my embedded one, the receiver has no idea what my original file size or characteristics were. And all the metadata is intact. It's just neat. It's magic. I love this stuff. Hey, that's my password. That's the same password I use on my luggage. Me too, Marky. I think I missed you. I think I saw a goodbye to you. But where are we at here? We are 2 minutes over time. Just read these last messages and get things shut down, and we will get us on out of here. Steganography, much safer than Raptorography. Yeah, right. So I had a little fun with my graphics on the screen this week. I don't do that often. I don't want people to get bored with it, and frankly, I'm not that creative, but had some fun with that. I wonder if backmasking is considered steganography. I don't know what backmasking is. I know what backwaxing is. You know, I'm old and of Italian extraction, so we know about backwaxing. Secret agent stuff. Yeah, it really is. Different sizes. Nice observation. Yep, she nailed that. Backmasking is considered steganography. I'm not going to look it up now, but I will be looking that up as soon as the show's over. Also, by the way, when the show's over, I'm going to pop over to Discord for a couple of minutes, get caught up with everybody. Okay, we're going to see Murky again on Tuesday. This coming Tuesday on Discord is Steve Nicholson doing Core 2 Physical Security from Core 2. Laters. I'll put a link about Audio Steg in the Batcave. Cool. Here, I'll tell you what. Here's something I meant to do. Here's the article with the 5 utilities that I mentioned in here. It's kind of what was my muse for getting started on this one. Okay, there's the link for that. Bump and bump. All right, back to messages. Back messages is hiding messages heard playing music backward. Okay. I have only recently gotten hold of a good music player that can play backward and make me happy, and I haven't bothered to dig up everybody's favorite Beatles song yet, but I will do that. Yep, so tomorrow's Friday. We start a 3-day weekend here in the States. Everybody have a good 3-day weekend. Let's close this guy up right now, and we'll call it a night. We'll do this again on Monday. No, we aren't doing anything on Monday, so Mike's not doing an AMA. I'm not covering for him. We're all enjoying a 3-day weekend. Tuesday is the next time we'll see anybody doing live stuff. And that's going to be over on the Discord server doing Core 2. And then Thursday next week, at least a 1-port show, probably a 2-part show. But certainly we're going to do the Linux utilities to check out your firmware. So with that, we'll wind her all up. Thanks everybody for coming. Nice turnout. And it'll get better. And it gets better every week. I've been seeing the numbers grow almost every time we go up. So I wish you great rest of the week. A great super 3-day weekend if you're here in the States. Please take care of each other. Take serious steps to stay healthy. Oh, I got to do this. Okay, let's see if that works. If at all possible, please call or visit your parents. And never forget, technology is great, but the greatest resources, you know it, we have are you and I. And so with that, good night. I'll see you next Tuesday and next Thursday. And until then, remember, how you do anything is how you do everything. Good night.